Hey friend, let me ask you something. What would you do if you saw someone lying on the side of the road, bleeding, hurting, all alone? Would you stop to help? Or would you just walk by, maybe because you're too busy, or maybe because they're someone you don't know? Well, I want to tell you a story that might just change the way you see things, and the way you see yourself. Picture this. You're walking down a dusty, winding road in the middle of nowhere. The sun's beating down on you and you're feeling a little weary from your journey. You're traveling from one city to another, let's say from Jerusalem to Jericho. And you know it's a dangerous path. Thieves are known to hide along the way, waiting to pounce on unsuspecting travelers. But hey, you've got to get where you're going, right? You keep your eyes on the road ahead and your mind on the destination. But then you see something, or rather someone. Something doesn't feel right. There, on the side of the road, you spot a man. He's not moving. He's lying there, bloodied and beaten, clothes torn and dirty. His face is bruised, his body broken, and it's clear he's in desperate need of help. Now imagine you're that person who just came across this man. You're caught in a dilemma. Do you help, or do you walk on by? What if I told you that how you respond will reveal a lot about who you truly are? This is the exact scenario Jesus told his followers, a story that challenges how we see ourselves, how we see others, and most importantly, how we choose to love. So let me tell you this story. It's one you don't want to miss. There once was a man, let's call him a traveler, who was journeying from Jerusalem to Jericho. The road was known to be treacherous, winding through hills and rocky valleys, a place where danger lurked. It wasn't uncommon for robbers to hide in the shadows, waiting to ambush those who ventured along the path. And on this particular day, the traveler was unfortunate. As he walked, a group of thieves who had been hiding nearby suddenly appeared from behind the rocks. They surrounded him, took all his belongings, his clothes, his money, everything he had, and left him with nothing. After they fled, he was left lying on the ground, unable to move, struggling, and in desperate need of help. But here's where the story gets interesting. Along comes a priest. Now, priests in those days were revered holy men, leaders of the faith. Surely, if anyone would stop and help, it would be him, right? But no. The priest, as he approaches, sees the man lying there in the dirt, wounded, bleeding, and what does he do? He passes by. He doesn't even break his stride. He looks the other way, maybe because he's too busy with his duties or perhaps afraid of being defiled by touching someone who's been harmed. The crowd watching this story, especially the religious people who were listening to Jesus at the time, must have been shocked. A priest? They thought. A man of God walking by without even caring? How could that happen? But wait, there's more. Next up, a Levite. A Levite was another kind of religious leader, closely connected to the temple, a man who should have understood the importance of mercy and compassion. The Levite comes down the same road. He sees the man too, lying. They're in agony, and just like the priest, he avoids the situation. He crosses to the other side of the road and without so much as a second glance continues on his way. Now, this part of the story would have been the last straw for those listening. Two men, both religious leaders, both walking by without offering any help. The people were probably shaking their heads by this point. Surely someone would stop, right? But then, something unexpected happens. A third man walks onto the scene. He's not a priest. He's not a Levite. He's not a member of the religious elite. He's a Samaritan. Now, for context, Samaritans and Jews didn't get along. There was deep animosity between the two groups. Jews saw Samaritans as outsiders, people to be avoided, even despised. So when Jesus introduced the Samaritan in this story, the listeners would have been taken aback. A Samaritan, they would have thought. There's no way he's going to help. But this Samaritan, the most unexpected, is the one who stops. He notices the man and instead of passing by, ignoring him, or hesitating, he chooses to help. He approaches the traveler, kneels beside him, checks on him, and with kindness in his heart, begins to take care of him. The Samaritan bandages the man's wounds using his own clothes. He pours oil and wine on the cuts to clean and soothe them. Then he lifts the man onto his own donkey, helping him to get up from the road. And as if that wasn't enough, he takes the man to an inn where he pays the innkeeper to care for him, making sure he gets food, rest, and proper treatment. But the Samaritan doesn't stop there. He tells the innkeeper, "Take care of him. And whatever extra expenses you incur, I'll cover it when I come back." The Samaritan shows kindness, love, and generosity. No questions asked, no hesitation. He doesn't care about the man's race, religion, or background. He doesn't care about the fact that the man might not be from the same town or have the same beliefs. He simply sees a human being in need and he acts. Now let me ask you this. Who was the real neighbor in this story? Was it the priest who passed by without a second thought? Was it the Levite who chose not to get involved? Or was it the Samaritan, the one who chose to love regardless of differences? Jesus asks, which of these three do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers? The answer, of course, is the Samaritan. And then Jesus gives a powerful command. Go and do likewise. You see, the lesson here is simple yet profound. Love knows no boundaries. It doesn't matter what race, religion, or background someone comes from. It doesn't matter if they're your enemy, your neighbor, or even someone you'll never meet again. What matters is that when you see someone in need, you show them mercy, kindness, and compassion. The question is, will you be like the priest and the Levite, walking on by, too caught up in your own life to notice others? Or will you be like the Samaritan, stopping to help, showing love when it's least expected? This story isn't just about helping others in times of crisis. It's about how we choose to live each and every day. It's about how we see the world and how we choose to be part of it. It's about turning compassion into action. And it's about remembering that our neighbors aren't just the people we like or agree with. They're the people in need, the ones God calls us to love. So I challenge you today. Will you go and do likewise? The road is long, my friend. And along it, there are many who are hurting, broken, and in need of help. Sometimes, it's the ones you least expect who will be there when you need them the most. But the question remains, will you be the one to help when you see someone else in need? Take a moment to think about your actions, your choices, your attitude toward others. The world can be a harsh place, but you have the power to change that by showing love to the people around you. Don't just walk by. Be the one who stops. Now go and do likewise. If this story spoke to you, hit that like button, share it with a friend, and let's make the world a little kinder. One Good Samaritan at a time. If you want to hear more about this story, listen to the podcast in the description.